Welcome back to Movie Flakes, the movie The Hate You Give fucks everyone. The Hate You Give, the debut novel by Angie Thomas, was inspired by the expression that Tupac first made famous in the 1990s as an abbreviation for thug life. The book was released in February 2017 and has been on the New York Times bestseller list ever since. This indicates how much it resonated with a young generation dealing with gun violence and police brutality. With its Black Lives Matter message, the cinematic adaptation of this compelling story will now try to reach an even larger audience. Star Carter, a black kid who is skilled at code switching between her black community in Garden Heights and the prep school her parents send her and her siblings to in the ostentatiously white and affluent Williamson neighborhood, is the main character of both the novel and the movie. In George Tillman Jr.'s movie, she first appears as her stern-voiced father Maverick instructs his kids on what to do if a police officer pulls their automobile over. Do what they say, place their hands on the dashboard. There is a life and death distinction. She is 9 years old, her older brother is 10, and the Carter family's newest addition, who is still fussing in his mother's arms, is just a year old. The narrative then fast-forwards to Star, a vivacious 16-year-old basketball player for her school who falls in love with Chris, a funny but sincere white classmate. Having a foot in two different social circles has the unintended consequence of making you feel unbalanced in both. She feels out of place at both the neighborhood party her friend drags her to so Star can intervene in a fight and at her white prep school, where white students love to use black language. When Star's former childhood friend and first love, Khalil, shows up, her uneasy sentiments are temporarily put on hold. Comes at her with a smile that has dimples. The two leave the party in Khalil's car after a quarrel at the party ends their chance encounter. The two teenagers chat about the past while traveling back to Star's house and even exchange kisses. Then blue and red lights start to flash. When a police officer stops them for an unknown reason, Khalil becomes combative. Star tries to guide him through her father's instructions to keep his hands on the dashboard and follow instructions. Khalil grabs casually for his hairbrush to pass the time while the officer leaves to check his license. Khalil is killed by gunfire. Star is handcuffed close to her dying companion by the cop. He fired first before posing any questions because he mistook the boy's hairbrush for a weapon. The incident is seismic for the neighborhood and for Star, who gets caught up in the fury and media hysteria. She has post-traumatic stress disorder and appears to be lost in thought as she wanders the corridors of her school. Her students don't seem to have any connection to the issues facing the area next door, despite being only a short drive away. Star becomes frustrated by this and starts to disagree with one of her white girlfriends who is truly baffled by what is happening. Chris, her boyfriend, makes a valiant effort to assist as he fumbles through a crash course in how to be an ally. The film takes the time to describe the different injustices and obstacles that Black Americans face, generally through interactions between a father and daughter, without becoming overly didactic. Star makes the decision to reject the status quo after knowing the workings of this unfair system. Her perspective is typical of the youth-led initiatives that have emerged in response to Black Lives Matter and the marches against school shootings. This time, the status quo will undoubtedly face opposition. Stenberg, whose prior work includes such titles like The Hunger Games and Darkest Minds, handles the challenging role with skill, developing before our eyes from a carefree adolescent to a wounded child to a natural-born leader. Issa Rae, Anthony Mackie, and Common are all featured in the supporting cast, so she is not alone in her endeavors. As Star's parents, Hornsby and Regina Hall also have a deep and complex interaction in common. They are a loving couple with divergent opinions about how to raise their kids, whether in the challenging neighborhood where they both grew up or somewhere else. The lighting and color of the scenes also fluctuate from warm, comfortable tones to washed-out blue hues to visually reflect the feeling of switching between the worlds of Garden Heights and Williamson. The scenes in the Carter home appear warm and well-lit, reminding one of the coziness of a devoted family. When Star is at school, her face appears pale and washed out, as though the screen was attempting to mute everyone's skin tones to look the same. She sacrifices her identity in more ways than just refraining from using the slang words her classmates have adopted since she tries so desperately to fit in. When I watched The Hate You Give, there were applause, gasps, tears, and laughter. When the guns were fired, a shudder ran down my spine, and at numerous other scenes, I had to hold back tears. Although it may be a well-known film with perhaps straightforward concepts, it does it in an emotionally powerful manner. We sympathize with Star and stand by her in tough situations like when she confronts a prejudiced acquaintance or challenges a reporter's obsession with Khalil's murky history. We get a feeling of how alone she feels as she stands in the hallway of her school and has to witness the killing of her friend. This is the tale of. Thus, if at any point the narrative appears overly simplistic or an intro to race in America, see you soon.